Hello and welcome to another episode of Cardinal Film Fights. I'm your wonderful host, Stephen Mason, and I'm also your judge, Stephen Mason. I'll never remember to do that properly. Here at Cardinal Film Fights, we like our movies, our opinions, and for tonight only, our animation. But not only, because we like it all the time. So, if you don't know the format for Cardinal Film Fights, it goes, each individual fighter will have 1 minute to give their opening statements over a given topic, animation-based for tonight. And then for the next 5 minutes, each fighter will join together with the fighters, create a giant robot, and then destroy the robot, and then they will fight to the death for 5 minutes.
Would you say the robot is more than meets the eye?
No, I would not.
Can I leave?
Well, I'm done. And then in the next 30 seconds, each fighter will be given the time to wrap their arguments up and closing statements. So, without further ado, let's introduce the fighters. So, you, what's your name, your location, not location, your name, your major, that's what I was thinking of, your year, and what you think the deal with airline food is.
Okay. My name's Nick Evans. I'm a junior telecommunications major. I'm the president and director here at Cardinal Film Fights. Airline food sucks. Like, it used to be like, you used to be able to like go on an airplane and they'd bring you like a freaking steak and like scotch. And like, that was back when people like dressed up to like get on a plane because it was fancy. And now everybody's like walks around in like their flip-flops and their sweatpants, and they serve you like freaking peanuts and maybe like a stale beer if you're lucky. I don't even know if they serve alcohol on planes anymore. They do? Okay. And it's just like, man, how far the mighty have fallen.
Ugh, it's like everybody's poor.
Pride cometh before the fall.
All right, next.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Holbrook. I'm a sophomore animation major, and scientifically, the deal with airline food is that your taste buds change at higher altitudes and pressurized chambers. So, due to that, you typically don't like the food as much at a higher altitude.
The more you know. And you on the end.
I'm James Ong. I'm a junior animation major, and since Kimberly stole my fact about airline food, I'm just going to say it's just a bunch of mediocre pretzels, and they give you a little cup of water if you're lucky.
Well, I, for one, always look forward to getting my glass of apple juice. I don't know what... You people are mean. All right. For tonight's broadcast, we will be having a fight, and the topic for the fight is television channels, specifically the cartoon channels, more specifically Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney Channel. I assume you all have your favorites. Nick, what's your favorite?
Ironically enough, my pick for this was Nickelodeon. Ha 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 ha. Okay. I've got my ha-has in. So Nickelodeon was and has continued to be a dominant powerhouse in the cartoon animation business on television. Their strongest run of successes, I mean, they dominated the 90s, they dominated the 2000s, the early 2000s. The latter 2000s, it's kind of become the SpongeBob show, but that doesn't mean that they won't return to their former glory. I know there's been a Hey Arnold movie, so hopefully we'll get a Hey Arnold reboot. Maybe that, and I know Rocco's getting a reboot, so maybe that will spark some more creativity back into Nickelodeon. I know SpongeBob's director, the original director's back, so I know there's been some improvement with the show. So hopefully things are back on the rise for Nickelodeon. That's Nick.
Nickelodeon.
Ha ha ha.
All right, James, give us your opinion.
My favorite channel is Cartoon Network. It, like Nick said, with Nickelodeon, it was a powerhouse in the 90s, it was in the 2000s, and it has risen to extreme prominence, I would say, in the 2010s with shows like Adventure Time, Regular Show, Amazing World of Gumball, and it's just continued to take a lot of risks, I would say. Like, some have paid off, some haven't. If you remember Secret Mountain Fort Awesome or Oh, what was that other one the guy made? Either way, they've taken risks. Some have paid off, some haven't. And it's one of the only studios, in my opinion, not studios, but networks, in my opinion, that have continued to just push the boundaries of what they can put on, like what will work, what won't, and just test the waters of what kids like.
Interesting. Paving the way forward for future success.
Exactly.
Something like that. And Kimberly, finish us off.
Then last but not least, we have Disney. And I chose Disney because it's a place where movies that kids loved are able to revisit these adventures and continue on with their favorite characters, such as Lilo and Stitch. Not only that, but they had original creations such as Kim Possible that allowed kids to see other possibilities that weren't coming out in theaters. And because of this, they even continue today with original creations like Gravity Falls. All shows have been very notable in society and loved by many people, and because of that, I find that not only did they start strong, they're continuing to be strong.
All sorts of interesting opinions, paving the way to the future, and domination of the 90s. So, without further ado, it's a battle of the networks. All right, everybody. Fight.
If you don't mind, I'd like just like a few minutes, like just a minute,
minute.
without. So Nickelodeon, my thing is that Nickelodeon, like, defines our childhoods, like
Your childhood.
my childhood probably. I don't know how much Nickelodeon you watched, but I remember watching Avatar, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, Hey Arnold, Doug. The thing with Nickelodeon is that they've had their golden age, and every one of our like studios has had its golden age. Yours was more, Disney's was more in like the 80s when they weren't competing with Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network.
But see, you act like it's a competitor.
But they are a competitor. I mean, the big three are Nickelodeon, Disney, Cartoon Network. That's why we're debating them. Disney's come back to prominence in the latter 2000s and now back in the 2010s. Bleh. Cartoon Network competed directly with Nickelodeon in the 90s. They kind of had like this weird like fall off like mid 2000s, like 2005. And
we don't talk about that.
Yeah, I kind of figured you didn't. But the problem with Cartoon Network now is that they had their great run in the 2010s, but lately it's kind of become the Teen Titans Go show with Unikitty, and they're going down the SpongeBob path. And so I just I worry for the future of Cartoon Network as a studio, and so I just...
Well, then you should worry for Nick as well, because
I
a lot
have
of their
been worried for
shows
Nick.
are going the same route, whereas what I'm saying is that Disney Channel has allowed for continuations of their franchises as well as original creations, something that those two don't have. They started with original TV shows that maybe got theatrical releases. Not many times have they seen movies do the same that turn into series, except Lego Movie.
But Nickelodeon and Lego Movie... The thing is, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon are television first. They're not Disney. Disney is a multimedia conglomerate. I mean, of course, you're going to take your famous TV, you're going to take your famous movies and turn it into cartoons. I mean, that's a given. You know, when you're Disney, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network don't really do theatrical releases. I mean, Cartoon Network gets a lot of its stuff from like Warner when they do TV shows based on properties. It comes from like Hasbro or from Warner Brothers. I think Looney Tunes show aired on Cartoon Network, didn't it not?
Yes, sir.
The latter Looney Tunes. Nickelodeon, but what makes Nickelodeon unique from the other two is that they don't have properties that like come from another company. They have all of their property.
I want to stop you there.
Are you going to talk about Avatar, or like which one are you going to bring up?
Well, first I want to thank Nickelodeon for bringing Cartoon Network into prominence, because Nick at Night, if it weren't for them not showing cartoons at night, Cartoon Network wouldn't exist.
That's true.
And but what you're saying, a lot of the cartoons come from.
I'm not saying all of your cartoons come
not
from
all
that.
of them, but you're saying some of them. But
Yeah.
like Cartoon Network has been a great sort of. I've heard it described as a guerrilla war going on. Like, you get what you can into the show, and that's not like a lot of. You can't do that like Nickelodeon and Disney. You can't just put things in. You can't just see if something works. Like, yes, you say like the mid 2000s had that string of like live action shows like Destroy, Build, Destroy, and Dude, What Would Happen. But and you say
Total
that as a
Drama.
disadvantage, total drama. But. I see,
Camp Laszlo.
I see that in his favor, because they're not afraid to try something new to see if it works, and it didn't work, and they moved past that, and now They had that
But
run.
they've also taken shows that have worked, like Young Justice and Green Lantern, and they canned them. Like, they canned them with, like, Young Justice is getting a Netflix reboot because the fans, and Green Lantern should get one too, because the outcry for more of that was so strong. And so like, Cartoon Network has a tendency to can its more successful, like, properties in favor of these other shows. And I'm not saying Nickelodeon is completely innocent of that. I mean, they kind of did that
I would
with...
say it's the progenitor of that kind of stuff.
I don't know if it's the progenitor, because they've except for Avatar's the only one I can think of that, like, really kind of got shafted, and I don't think they were ready for this. They weren't ready to capitalize on what Avatar was. And honestly, that might have been a better thing for Avatar, because if Avatar hadn't had its more concise run with the first show and then the Korra, I worry that it would have turned into the SpongeBob show as well.
Well, yeah, but Korra got shafted. Got switched at different animation studios. It dropped in animation.
That's not Nickelodeon's. Did it switch studios?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for that.
It went from, I believe, Trigger or a Japanese studio to a Korean studio on the quality drop. It did that with Harvey Beaks. C.H. Greenblatt's show got shafted. Iggy and the Cockroaches, though that had some controversy behind it, but that still got shafted. Nickelodeon is ready, same as Cartoon Network, so they're both ready to drop a show if it does not work. No.
I feel bad because we didn't really give Disney a chance to, like, talk.
Feel good about that.
Don't worry.
All right, Kimberly, I'll give you your time to shine.
Thank you.
Why is Disney the best?
I think Disney is the best because when you hear names such as Kim Possible, Lizzie McGuire, Proud Family, Lilo and Stitch, the list goes on, Winnie the Pooh, all these different things come together in a TV station where kids can not only enhance the movies they love, they can enhance these new ideas. And because of that, I find that it's a ground for creativity that's continuing to show the prospects of animation in the future, something that the other two channels have suffered with.
Low blow.
Interesting. All right, Nick, you're next.
So I want to take a moment. The shows that my competitors named, only a few of them came from the animation studio itself. Otherwise, it came from a movie property. And the thing with Disney is that if the suits don't like it, the suits are going to can it. And Disney is just as bad as this, more so with their films. But Cartoon Network has the same problem. I have the same problem with mine. Disney has had the same problem, and we've all had our rises and falls. So I think it's just a matter of who has had the most success overall, and I think that's Nickelodeon.
Cartoon Network, despite its its cancellations, they've still provided just a training ground almost for new directors to cut their teeth on. At Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Chowder, Misadventures of Flapjack, Adventure Time, Megas XLR, even like its Adult Swim shows, its Toonami shows. They're not afraid to, like I said multiple times, take a risk and just try something new, and if it doesn't work, they'll just keep on going. And that's what I just really appreciate about them, is they're just going to keep trying.
All right. Fact checker, do you have anything for us?
Everything checked out.
Everything checked out. Impressive. I would have thought there would have been something. All right. For a special little sequence break, I'm going to announce second place first. Nick, you had quite a bit of quality to your arguments, but I will say that while you did make quality arguments, you made about the same thing as James did, and I thought that you kind of bounced off each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
And third place, Kimberly, you kind of got stomped over a little. And the point that you did make with bringing movie properties over to syndication, I thought that was interesting, and like you don't see that very often, but at the end of the day, it's not a huge point to really hold up. So for first place, it's going to James and Cartoon Network. The fact that you brought up about being a proving ground, and if things don't work out, they get thrown out. And the fact that there was an entire section where they tried something completely different, See and Real, as it was called, in the mid-2000s. That was just terrible.
Yeah.
And then they just threw it out.
Yeah.
So
Finally.
I thought that was a great point, and you brought up all the directors that got their start and to really like prop themselves up. So I thought that was a great point, and you made a convincing argument. So to recap, first place, Cartoon Network with James.
Everything's coming up, James.
That's The Simpsons. That's completely. Second place with Nick and Nickelodeon, and third place with Kimberly with Disney Channel. So, thank you for your time and your patience and your enjoyment here at Cardinal Film Fights. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and enjoy the next episode of Cardinal Film Fights. Thank you and good night.